So you've probably heard the term zero trust bandied about in cybersecurity circles a lot lately. Given that zero trust is a concept, security professionals might find it hard to adopt this newer security framework without fully understanding how to use it, and most importantly, when to use it. Stick around because in this video, we'll cover what zero trust security is, and as experts in protecting OT and IoT environments, we'll also be providing tips on how to use it to secure your own OT or IoT networks. Let's go. Zero trust is a concept that Forrester Analyst John Kindervag developed over a decade ago, encompassing a number of security policies and strategies designed to protect networks from attacks from both outside and from inside. Think of it as a mindset rather than a technology. Zero trust starts with a premise that all individual devices may be compromised or pose a threat, and therefore they can't be trusted. This is quite different from a previous approach that assumes devices requesting access were innocent until proven guilty. Now the starting point is trusted, but only when verified. So here's the thing. Zero trust isn't a simple framework that can be implemented overnight. You don't just flick a switch and suddenly you're zero trust compliant. Here at Nozomi Networks, we feel that it's not actually possible to achieve 100% compliance of zero trust. Well, what is the point of all of this then, you might be thinking? As you can imagine, blocking every single device on your network until you know it can be trusted would cause quite a bit of disruption. As always, there's circumstances and best practices to think about. It takes time to sort out what can be trusted and what can't be, but it's worth the effort in the long run. So what are best practices when it comes to applying zero trust to OT environments? It's safe to say that OT and IoT landscape has changed a lot recently, like all technological and digital industries, but even more so in critical infrastructure and cyber physical systems. We all know that threats are highly sophisticated, difficult to identify, and even harder to track. Networks are becoming more diverse and distributed. More external devices need to gain access, and the list goes on, doesn't it? All these factors increase the risk of a security breach and make zero trust very compelling. Taking a cautious approach to organizing, segmenting, and restructuring network access will not only maintain the integrity of a network itself, but also protect each device and user within it. Before zero trust, security professionals typically segmented their OT network by restricting access between less risky and more risky systems, also known as air gapping. Air gapping isn't an effective strategy now that connectivity has gone sky high. So how do you protect your OT environment with its expansive attack surface? You guessed it, by adopting a zero trust security model. This involves restricting access to vulnerable pathways by authorizing users and validating systems. The stricter you are, the better, so be tough, guys, and the safer your OT environment will be. One way to look at this method of division is microsegmentation. So every device operates within its own secure environment, its own little bubble, if you will. So it doesn't pose a threat or create a risk on its own either. So that's one way of applying zero trust security to an OT environment. But what about remote access? Now, maybe you work with consultants or other third parties that need access to the network, but let's be realistic. You probably don't want to give them access to the whole network, right? If they click on malware or their device becomes compromised in some way, the whole network is at stake. So to avoid this, you simply need to create a defined zero trust zone for those accessing your systems remotely to work within, containing everything they need, but nothing beyond that. This reduces the risk of malware spreading beyond the third party's access zone, much like the traditional air gap model. Crisis avoided. Just before we go, I'd like to draw your attention to a recent podcast on zero trust with Gary Kinghorn and Bruce Snell. In their chat, they discuss some of the challenges of adopting zero trust principles and the benefits of doing so. Check it out on our podcast channel, and don't forget to subscribe to get regular content on cybersecurity best practices and more. Until next time.